Hello and welcome to Crown Beauty and Cosmetics. So I'm your host today, Amalima, and I want to thank you for switching on to my channel. In this channel, we have candid discussion about things, people, places that's actually uplifting and find a positive spin to anything. So before I start, I just want you to like, comment, and share, and please give any suggestions you want about topics that you want to be covered in the channel. That will be taken into consideration. So let me just get started. In my last video about Prince Harry's peers and why you must read it, um you should watch that video if you haven't seen it, giving you some of the reason why I think you should read the book. So I have read the book, but it's taking me such a long time to actually come back and do videos because I've been really busy. And it's only this is kind of the time of season when I'll start shooting videos, and hopefully I'll be more regular and bring a lot more content about. There's so many things that I actually want to cover this year alone. So I want to thank you for being patient to give my spin and my feedback on Spare. If you've read a book, please comment on what was positive and what was not so a good part of the book. Personally, I actually enjoyed reading it. There's so many things I didn't even know about Harry himself, the man behind all the stories that's been going on, and also about Harry's relationship with his family and what the relationships are like with family members in the royal family. So I am actually glad that I get to read it. And besides, when you read, your mind is just enlightened and you see things differently as well. So it's actually a good read that I will recommend. So I'm just going to touch on the most important thing for me was the relationship with Harry and the rest of his family. So of course there was a lot of speculation in the media about the fact that the relationship is fractured and that how Harry's going to get back to, having a good relationship with his father, King Charles, and the rest of the family and his brother and so on. And I didn't find a novel that it was trash talking. I think it was just a candid and open dialogue about how he felt, and there were some really good and positive things about it as well. It wasn't all negative. Harry did touch on different aspects of his life. He talked about his childhood. He talked about his dear mother, Princess Diana. Of course, his relationship with his father, his relationship with William, his relationship with the press, the toxic relationship he had with the press, which is, if anything, Harry points a lot of fingers on the press, and I can see why. I can see the rationale behind it. So it's a good read and I will recommend it. So I'm just going to dive into what was Harry's relationship like, with the family. For me, that's the biggest take. Okay, so if you just bear with me while we talk about this, and then of course you can feel free to leave comments. So just a quick summary. When I read Spare, there was actually a lot in it that Harry disclosed about his life growing up, what it was like growing up in a palace, what happened during the divorce between the parents, Diana and Charles, of course, and being in the public eye. He did discuss these his school, going to private school, eating, obviously joining his brother there as well. He talked about some of the things, the trauma that he went through after his mother passed away, and even his relationship with some members of the royal family, and also relationship with former girlfriends, yeah, and life in the army. Don't know if I've said that, but life in the army in general, and of course trying to find his path anyway, and navigating the British press, which was one of the major things about the book. I mean, if you've watched interviews where Harry had been interviewed about the coming out of this book, I mean, you should know that it wasn't trash talking his family. It was really pointing finger at the British press. And there has to be some accountability somewhere. We have to accept the fact that the British press is toxic. And there are so many negative stories that have been written about Harry. And when it's just not enough, but when you have someone that you love, and when, of course, Meghan joined the family, the backlash was even more. And Meghan being a woman of color, that was even amplified, and that makes it look worse for women of color, for black women, especially in the UK. So that made it even worse for us to actually see and even experience. So you can almost feel the hate, coming from the press. And the press does have a very, the press has got a lot of power in the UK. So I'll just put it aside. The press has a lot of power. So Harry was actually trying to point finger at the press, saying this is the reason why I left, and also the relationship he's had with the press. I think it's so clear in the book that Harry had a huge animosity towards the press because of his mother. Princess Diana was hounded by the press. So even without Meghan being in the picture, Harry had a difficult relationship with the British press. And it felt like the British press were being insensitive and they don't listen. They want to control the narrative. And for him, it's destroying his mental health. It was destroying him personally. And I think it comes to a point when, as a man, you want to take charge because you've got a family to protect. You've got the women that you love dearly that you want to protect. And of course, it's a strong woman, and she's willing to give him the support to be able to do that. So this was the best time for Harry to have his peace and to stand up to the press. That's my thoughts, really. So first of all, his relationship with his mother, Diana, the late Princess Diana. So he actually adored his mother, and he loved her like any little boy. He was really, really close to Diana. And of course, Diana was the parent that had more physical contact with her children. So Charles wasn't a hugger. If you read the book, he'll tell you that. Diana, on the other hand, played with them and loathed them. He just loved them, and just like, just any mother will do. She was hands-on, and she was full hands, and she was a loving mother. So Harry had a lovely relationship with Diana. And I must say, I don't think people actually understand the impact that Diana's death had on Harry, being the youngest. I think with any family in particular, the youngest children will suffer the most, because there's that element of the bond between the mother, the attachment. So when compared to William per se, so Harry was the youngest and possibly closest to mom, you know and he actually got most of Diana's traits as well. So and because of that, so Harry had felt that that was taking away from him. That was a loss that he suffered. And I don't think it wasn't, even according to the book, it wasn't giving the help that he needed at the time Diana passed away. It was all buried underground. And it would have been better that he had been through some form of therapy, or that he had been able to deal with that loss in his life. I think that was very traumatic for Harry, and also the circumstances surrounding Diana's death. Don't forget that she was actually killed in a car accident in Paris, being chased by paparazzi. So all of that, all this, the press and the media intrusion, is what actually led to Diana's death. And so as a child, you're actually going to be hostile towards, the people or person that has actually caused this death. And to think that, Harry talks about the fact that she was lying in the car And then instead of the paparazzi helping her, instead they were taking snapshots of her, which was really cruel. That was really cold. You know, how can you be watching someone dying and instead of helping or trying to do something, you're busy taking pictures like you don't even care? So for Harry, of course, the press is going to be, something that he particularly dislike, and that's regardless of whether Meghan was in the picture or not. And it was because of that he's actually been very protective about the people that he loved, and also despised the press because of the way they go about getting stories, and just how heartless the media can be, you know. So I think that's something Harry had decided that he was going to fight against. And over the years, of course, the media didn't treat him favorable. If you read the book, there's so many accounts that Harry was especially picked on, and things that he did that they were so magnified, by the press. Okay. So Harry's relationship with William, I think we were led to believe that the brothers are very close, and I'm sure, of course, they love each other with a brotherly love, just like anyone would love their siblings or members of their family. But they were not as close as we would thought they were. But given the age gap, I can actually understand. William is the older brother, and anyone who's older and has a younger sibling will know that you don't want them around too much when when you're with your friends, or when you're preoccupied with your own things, with your own life, and that's just teenage issues, put it this way. So even when they went to eating together, William had to ask Harry to pretend that he didn't know him, and so of course with Harry, that he might have taken that personally, but of course I don't think he bear any grudge about it. But I think what Harry was trying to tell us is that the relationship that we thought, what the press was trying to put out there, that his brothers were very strong brothers, and things like that, it wasn't necessarily the case. They were both different people, and they have different friends, and of course they had different dreams in life, and they were very competitive. I think William probably would have been a little bit jealous of Harry, the younger brother, because I think to some extent Harry was cheeky, and he did get away with a lot of stuff. So for me, the relationship was good, but it wasn't the relationship that was made up by the press. So again, this is like a food for thought for all of us. So that brings me down to Harry's complicated relationship with um, Camilla. So with Charles, Harry had noted he just referred to him as his darling boy. So I'm sure they have a good relationship. And not to take anything away from King Charles, I think he did the best that he could do given the situation, being a single dad. So don't forget, you're the single dad and you have to fulfill both roles. And the mother being having such a strong personality, such a very compassionate, very kind, all those things that Diana is and that she's capable of giving. And of course, Charles is completely different from Diana. So there is an element of trying to fulfill both roles. But then again, Charles was had spent more time with nannies possibly than with his mom, because the late queen had to travel a lot during her reign when Charles was younger. So he does, you can't fault King Charles for doing what he thought was a good parenting. So he did try his best. So I can't fault him for that. And I'm sure Harry is giving Charles a lot of grace. He wasn't he wasn't slagging him off in the book. Of course, there were things that he was unhappy about, and if you want to know the full detail about it, please read the book. You know, because sometimes when you're reading things for yourself and processing that information, and someone giving you secondhand information, that can come across wrongly because there's context to it, and when you take away the context, then it's just meaningless, really. So we come to Harry's complication relationship with Camilla. So we all know Camilla was treated like the villain, because she was the third woman, and she was the third person in the marriage to Charles and Diana. And Camilla is very loyal to Charles. So regardless of, what Diana was trying to accomplish, her loyalty was with Charles. So given that, so the press were really hostile to Camilla. And I think at some point everyone was. So when Charles decided, no matter what, they both decide they're going to be together. So there's got to be some repairing of Camilla's image, to soften her image, to make it look like, yes, she's not as bad, she's not the villain, she's not, the homewrecker like people thought she was. So just basically, she just give us some grace, which I think we all need sometime. But I think it comes at an expense, and what Harry was alluding to in the book is the fact that in the attempt to repair Camilla's image, they had to make a deal about what information needs to be put out there. Basically, there has to be some sacrificial lamb. So Harry's image will be tarnished beyond, whatever it is, beyond ways that the press wants to protect Camilla. So they're swapping information, which I really don't understand, this kind of relationship with the press and the royal family. So it looks like the press holds a lot of power in the UK, and the press, their influence is very strong. The press decide which party is going to win. So prior to election, they will send out lots of information. They will, print out so many articles about a certain political party. It'll be like a smear campaign. So they're trying to put in the minds of the people what to think and who to vote for, who should be in power. And there's always debate constantly. It's never ending. You just want to switch off, because you feel like the media is so biased. And you can actually see how that plays on, and it's triggering for anybody. So I try to avoid that. I don't even listen to it anymore. So the press has a lot of influence in the people in the UK, and I just hope the people can see that. So Camilla using the press to soften her image is the best way to go about it, and they did well, because since Charles got married to Camilla, I've never seen anything negative printed about her. So just imagine, from this woman who was deemed the most dangerous woman, the most hated woman in the UK, to having this perfect, clean image after marrying Charles. So of course the deal was done there, isn't it? So the deal was done, so it comes at a cost to Harry, unfortunately, because for Camilla's image to be repaired, for the Queen Consort's image to be softened and to appear positive, it comes at some expense for Harry. So somebody has to take the heat. So unfortunately, it was Prince Harry. So he gets a lot of the negative reporting, the negative backlash, and of course, with Meghan being in the heat. Meghan is a bright, intelligent woman. She's going to see things for what they are. Eventually, you do. You get to see how these things play out, and of course, she wasn't going to stand for it. So then the press used Meghan as well to bash Harry and to make her look difficult and everything else, all in the guise of making Camilla's image soften. So that was a kind of complicated relationship between Harry and Camilla. It's rather unfortunate. So did we miss a good opportunity with Harry and Meghan? My opinion is absolutely 100% we do. The fact of the matter is that Harry fell in love with Meghan. Meghan is in love with Harry. They both love each other. And the only way they could have gone through this is to stick together. I know some reporters were alluding to, oh, look at them two. It's like, oh, we two against the world. But that's what it feels like, especially when you live in a world like the UK, which is so small. That's what it feels like. And I think Meghan came in with, just like any American person will be, I can accomplish anything. I can be anything. There's no royal family in America, So you know, we every country fought for their independence. So, everyone believed that somehow they can become something if they aspire to it, if they work hard. So Megan coming in with that idea, I think people were very frightened, to say the least. The UK wasn't prepared for someone like Megan, and the UK wasn't prepared for Harry having a very intelligent woman and a woman of color as well. So the UK just wasn't prepared for that. And of course, the institution, as much as we wanted it to be like any other racist institution in the UK, wasn't prepared for a colored woman. I think what I love about Megan is the fact that, you know, she, she thinks she's deserving of love and of, things that she wants to accomplish. She works hard. She's very intelligent. She's a successful woman, you know, before Harry. And I think that's what you find attractive with Americans, especially with Black Americans, the fact that, success will come to them when they do work hard, because America offers you that opportunity. In the UK, it's very, very difficult, especially if you are a Black woman, a woman of color, a woman of African and Caribbean descent. It's very difficult, and they make it very difficult for you as well. So it feels as if the UK is not ready for people like us in a way, because I've spent some time in the US and living in the UK as well, so I can actually see the difference. So I don't think the UK was actually ready for Megan. We do miss a good opportunity there, and I love the two of them together, and I think they could have done a lot of good. Megan is passionate, she's a loving person, but all the press want to try and do is create this drama. Megan versus Kate, the English Rose, Megan, we don't like her. She's this, she's that, she's difficult. Oh, Harry and William, or William is a perfect child, a golden boy, and Harry is this. Harry is just whatever it is. So the press just wants to create this drama, this for the whole world to watch. And they were not about to have it. Of course, you have to control the narrative at some point. Enough is enough. You can't have people talking rubbish about you and be okay with it for a while. You can put up with it, but then it gets to a point where it's like, I'm having children here, and did I have to go through this? Because I don't like it. And with this island, the UK being as small as it is, comparatively small when it comes, to America, you feel the heat, you feel the hate, especially when the tabloid is everywhere, when the news is everywhere, when the news is so biased, especially with the reporting of the BBC. So as sad as it is, it was the best decision for them to leave. They didn't have any plans for leaving, and I'm sure if you've read the story and follow them, you would have realized that they didn't have any plans. It just happened the way it did during the lockdown. And Tyler Perry, of course, came to the rescue, a strong Black man, so which was really good. And so unfortunately they have to say their goodbyes and move away across pond. And because America is so much bigger, you know even if there's any hate or backlash, it wouldn't be felt so much. You have to be a spiritual being to understand that. Anyways, so moving on, I just want us to consider our relationship with our loved one, friends and family. Would you continue with a relationship if it's toxic, if it doesn't serve you well, or if it's damping your spirit, if it's putting a lot of pressure on you, and if you don't feel good within yourself? As Harry and Meghan stated, it was destroying their mental health. So for me, I said was a good thing that they left, and I wish them all the best of luck. And I know they're thriving in America, and everyone is like, we don't want to see them here again. But I said, please, the weather in LA is a lot better than here anyway. So please, let's just be kind. Let's just be kind. Let's stand up to the press and say we don't need this kind of reporting. Collectively, if we do that, and ask for decency with the press, to stop bullying people, to stop the bias reporting, to stop spreading hate. I think that would be the best way to go about it. Okay, so having said that, my question is now to you guys: how is your relationship with your family and friends? Is it change over time? Is it fulfilling? Do you find joy in that relationship? Is it happy? Is it draining you? Are you thankful? Are you just tolerating some family and friends because you don't have any choice? Or is there any hope that it gets better? And I think for me, this is the giveaway. Harry has to reconcile the loss of his mother, and of course have to find a way to rebuild the relationship with William, his only brother. And then of course there's this relationship with King Charles. So we're gonna see how that plays out during the coronation, and whether Harry will get an invite, I don't know. Harry and Meghan will get an invite. So it's good to hear that the children have been given the title of prince and princess, which is only fitting. That would just be very petty for King Charles not to do that. It's like, oh, if Harry wrote a book, then I'm going to do this. Then it never ends. The king has to be the wise one. And so it just leaves helps me to rethink my relationship with people around me as well, and how that gets to change over time. So the relationship when you were younger, as you grow older, as your desire and aspiration change, as you want to develop and grow or you don't want to develop and grow, people around you can be a reflection of the things you want and the things you don't want, and you have to find a way to navigate that. So I would just like a feedback if you had family and friends that are unbearable and that the relationship is becoming very difficult, or you've kind of find new relationships that are actually fulfilling, new friendship that are actually bringing out the best in you, that are pleasing, that are trustworthy. So all these elements, I think at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel accepted at some point, wants to be understood, wants to feel some sense of security, whether it's in a family relationship or with friends or whatever it is. So for me, that's the giveaway. So it is a fractured relationship. It's not a perfect family. I know it's the royal family. It's just like any other family. They have to do more because there is this institution that they're all working to prolong, to keep it going. And of course, to happen here is like, just imagine what happened with Harry and William could potentially happen with Louis and George or Charlotte. So it's no different. It happened with the Queen and Princess Anne, the Queen's sister. So the Spears relationship somehow needs to change over time. So the family, the institution needs to consider how the Spears are treated, or you know who is going to take the bait for the negative press. And at some points, the royal family has to stand up to the press and say, we've had enough of this. This is destroying life. Let's create a press that provide information fairly to people and allow people to make a decision, as opposed to telling people and hammering them with things that we want them to believe. So that will call for a happy and healthy society. Don't you think? So I hope you've taken away something from this session today. So I want to thank you again for joining my channel at Crown Beauty. So I hope you have a lovely Easter wherever you are. So I'll come again with some more content. And thank you and have a lovely day.